option. The next option is the use of waste management lands to create a community park. So as I referred to earlier, there is the Franklin Savannah and the community park that's recommended to be adjacent to the Southwest Conservancy, and it is the use of these lands that are in green. So this is 112th Street, County Line Road, Oakwood Road. And the parcels in green, including this landlocked parcel here, by the landfill, but are to be dedicated there is a requirement that the landfill at a time of the city's choosing dedicate these lands to the city of Franklin or to some designee that we select. So if we were to say, well, we don't want to take this on, we want it to be a conservancy. We want to take this on, we want it to be a conservancy, we'll give it to the conservancy. That is something that is legally possible, but in general the idea here is that although we don't currently own them, these lands belong to the city of Franklin. So with that, a couple of things also to note. So, I mean, obviously this is the landfill, delightful. There are natural resources here, and the city engineer has commissioned a wetland study of this property, property, which I don't think is complete due to the dry conditions. It's been really difficult to do those kinds of field investigations, but that is underway, and it'll help us understand how this land can be used. A couple other things here. So the Franklin Savannah is here. This green area is likewise been dedicated to the town of Raymond, and they have a conservancy in this general area, using the lands to kind of create like a natural corridor in their community. So it's just off the map, but it's something to be aware of. So Scenario D, therefore, is one thought that you could take on the idea that the city is going to spend $5,400,000 of park impact fees to improve the waste management property as a community park. So there's probably some limitations on where that can be done and to what extent amenities can go into this park. There is a document that governs some of the uses that can be here. But it is one option to think through, and especially when it comes to using natural areas safely for the natural areas and also humans. There's a lot of permitting. So this scenario would cover fees through 2026, and there would also be a large match requirement. Scenario E is a bit of a mixed scenario. So this scenario includes a 60-acre community, also land acquisition and trail improvements. So this does put you in the negative dollar amounts, but it covers all impact fees through 2028, and then it kind of does a little of both. Building out the trail infrastructure that's envisioned, but also getting you closer to the community park that's desired and kind of a larger community park. So this scenario, because of the mixed rate, it has a relatively low match rate. It has a relatively low match requirement. So it's doing trails, which has a high impact fee rate use, and then doing the community park, which has a low one. So you can see that it's really roughly 50-50 impact fees to this scenario. Was the most preferred by the Plan Commission, partly because it is doing a lot of things that appear to be desired. So it doesn't include park amenities. So that's something that I think this commission, as we've said before, this isn't account for to do that? And how would you do that, since it's going to be a long-term plan? But if you were to land bank and then look to the future fees for those amenities, you know, this would be the approach. So, and then a neighborhood park, just to remind you, Pleasant View Park, the park itself, not counting Victory Creek trails over here. This is about 24 acres, give or take. This is a neighborhood park. And so another sort of mixed option would be to do a community park and a neighborhood park, to do improvements in a neighborhood park. So you could purchase a community park, and then this would again do kind of the mixed match rates, and put more amenities into existing parks. So this is another option that is before you. This really relies on us having places to put amenities in city parks, which I think the city engineer and staff would, but this would also use all of the impact fees, and probably also have a requirement on future impact fees as well. So just so that you see that. So it still has, in some ways, a lower match requirement, but it's still a pretty high match. So, questions about the scenarios?
Can I make a comment real quick? I just want to emphasize that by recommending or endorsing any of these scenarios, it's not saying we are locked into X amount of dollars that's on this piece of paper. As Marion has said a couple of times, this can be very nuanced, but it's a general ballpark scenario to say, to the council, yes, this is how we'd like you to use the money for X park and trails, or just big X park. The actual dollar amount, these are just kind of guesstimates. So in no way is this locking anything in.
Well, I guess my thoughts are, taking a look at it with scenario D, unless you really know all the restrictions and easements on the property, it's hard to recommend that without knowing what can and cannot go in there, the work that goes in and around.
Yeah, I agree with that as far as D being lower priority. Too many question marks. I personally like F, if we're looking for opinions now. I like the idea of adding the community park as planned, and also all the amenities and improvements we seem to talk about every month is included in that. And I know some may not be reasonable or doable, but we can at least take a look at it. So, and I like E as well. I'm torn between E and F.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, the easiest way the highest reward for the money that we have to spend is in trails, because it's the lowest match in the city. So that seems to be some of the easiest way to spend some of the money. But improving a neighborhood park, whether if it's resurfacing a tennis court or things along those lines, I think that's something that we talk about every week, like Dave said, or every month. So I'm kind of in favor of those two.
Okay. I will remind the commission that improvements to parks would have to be new. These fees cannot be used for maintenance, which to our endless frustration.
Sure.
But I know that's very much desired, is to repair the tennis courts, and that will have to come out of the general fund.
Okay.
So
I like E because I like Marion's comment about looping the trails. I think that's kind of...
I would be really interested to know that if that trail scenario were completed, how Franklin would compare to other communities in Milwaukee County in terms of the availability of trails and length of trails. I just think it'd be a cool thing. That's just a little personal opinion on that, but
A marketing thing.
yeah, tourism.
Mhm.
I will, and I heard several folks talk about the waste management, so just so you know, we did do a wetland delineation, so we kind of have everything. So as far as restrictions, it just needs to be city use or passive use, kind of park kind of thing, so, we can't turn it into a development, can't sell it for lots, those kinds of things.
You could run a trail through the length of that.
What's that?
You could run a trail through the length of there.
Yeah, you can also run a trail down to it, and, what's that?
You could run a trail through the length of there.
Yeah, you can also run a trail down to it, and as I remind folks, someday, long after I'm retired, hopefully, the landfill will fill up and, capped and.
Be another ski hill.
That will make a nice area for hiking and ski hill, those kinds of,
Hill.
that will make a nice area for hiking and ski hill, those kinds of things, so, yeah. Kevin will finally get a sledding hill.
A really big one. That sounds like fun.
The other thing, just to let you know, and this is kind of germane to what you're talking about, so Mayor Barrett, and apparently things went well, considering the conversation about the City of Milwaukee tree farm possibly making something happen. Keep in mind, Mayor Barrett is probably a short timer.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna make that happen, it's gotta be fairly quickly so they can blame it on the last guy. Yeah, it's, I believe it's about 80 acres, but the thought was is that we would probably take 20 of it. I take that back. It's more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's 150
Yeah.
acres. And the thought was we would take 40 to 60 of it, maybe extend that. There's a subdivision to the north, so by selling that off, it would pay for a lot, pay the city of Milwaukee, make it well worth their while to vacate that area. So by doing that, that would leave a lot of room for us. So
If I could follow up on that conversation a little.
a lot of room for us. So.
If I could follow up on that conversation a little bit, and I would encourage you, I don't know if it's posted yet, I didn't look today, but go back and listen to the recording of Plan Commission from last Thursday night. And the mayor talked at length about this very thought, and also thoughts about the possibility somewhere down the road that Frumming Park on the south side of Putes Road could possibly end up belonging to the city of Franklin. So the ultimate pie-in-the-sky picture on the north and south side of Putes Road, right along the river, is quite attractive. But a lot of stars have to align to make that happen. But I think it's just interesting listening as the mayor kind of explained some of the thoughts and conversations that have been going on.
Could somebody give me just a short version of the tree farm and what that's all about?
So at 51st and Pews,
I
the city
know
of
where it is.
Milwaukee has a tree farm.
Okay.
And the thought is the city of Milwaukee has a study out there somewhere where they've considered, does it even make economic sense for them to keep, growing their own trees? They can buy trees a lot cheaper than what they grow them for. So there has been a discussion of vacating the tree farm. And again, if the stars could align, it sounds like there's some positive conversations today that may be a real possibility.
We would have to buy that then?
We're having some discussions. So for example, 150 acres, if the city wanted to keep city of Milwaukee wanted to keep 150 acres, maybe we give them the waste management area. That would be suitable. Or being able to sell to a developer, and they would make buku bucks off of it. Whether we pay park impact fees or not, I don't know, but we would assuredly pay money to develop the park. So
Okay.
Now,
Have a bartering almost like.
yeah. Now the other end of the spectrum, and the Alderwoman brought it up. So the county issue, rate on anything that we're dealing with. In fact, the Bear development off of 112th Street, they went to the county and asked for permission to put a sanitary sewer to connect to Ryan Creek Interceptor, and and they offered to put a trail on top of it, and the county told them no. So we are hearing no demands because they're wanting some things from us, so we're gonna say, if you want these things, we want these things. And so that may facilitate maybe turnover for any park, maybe, a lot of maybes.
Support for scenario E, but I'm wondering, I think, Mary, what are your thoughts?
On the scenarios, I like the E the best also, just because I like trails and it would be the most feasible, impact-wise.
So,
Do we have to choose one? Do we have to make a motion
well,
on something?
my request would be that you make a recommendation to common council by motion. So, and you haven't actually said your preference. So, I know what it is, but.
Yeah, I had this until the end because I didn't want to skew anybody's views on that, but my preferred scenario is E, also for many of the reasons that we've mentioned, and I think we get a really good bang for the buck. I make no secret of the fact that I love trails. I think that our whole community loves trails, and we'll continue to benefit from those. That being said, I think any of these can work, but that's why I think it's also very important we had the Plan Commission's input. We have this commission, it's very important we had the Plan Commission's input. We have this commission's input. And so I think at the very least, we make a recommendation to Common Council to adopt the plan, or, to receive and adopt the plan, and and I don't know if it's with listing our preferences in a descending order as Plan Commission did, or if you as a commission would want to say we really feel very strong visible options. The ask of Plan Commission was to rank in descending order so that this commission would kind of know and just inform your thoughts and decisions on that. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yep. It was E, F, A, and B. I think for a lot of the reasons you alluded to, and also because of the expectation that there will be growth in that part of the city. So, what is your will? What is your will?
I think all of us are in agreement that E is towards the top of our list, or F,
We can come in with this.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe we make a motion that we recommend E and F as a second. If that E and F as a second, if that makes sense.
Have F as a plan B.
Yeah, exactly. Our top two choices are E and F.
I'll make that motion.
So could we have a second?
Or Jan, are you fine?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent.
All right.
Hey.
You guys have put a lot of great work into this, and I want to thank you for your time. So,
Well, and thank you, Marion, too.
Thank you.
You've done a lot of work with, and a lot of thought and professionalism. Yes.
yep. So, as I mentioned, this will be at Common Council on the 21st. That's also their budget discussion. And so that is a meeting that you as commission members and also community.
At one of those meetings, do we identify ourselves as a commission member or just Dave Bartle citizen?
It depends on, I mean, they'll probably call you out.
I'm sure
Yeah.
the mayor will call me, right?
It's
But
fine
if
to
she's
identify
the
yourself
yeah.
and to say that.
No, there's no
you know,
harm in that, right?
No,
Yeah.
just speak to the work that's been put in, and if you want a commissioner why, you've endorsed one scenario or another, that's absolutely acceptable.
Okay, thank you.
I guess we'll move on to item C, ways to recognize the service of previous Parks Commission Chair Tony McNutt.
The road
Or
Tony. So if the commission would like, we could do it either before a future meeting of yours. Another item on this agenda is to reschedule the tour of the parks, so it could be part of that, or we could schedule another date. I can do a survey of times that schedule another date. I can do a survey of times that folks are available, and it remains the case that the mayor is available. However, I've been asked to make sure that there's enough lead time to give the police department a little bit of notice, and that we provide a little bit of seating. So that I did receive a call after all this started to kick off that there are members of the community that would also be interested in attending. So I know that the idea was to have kind of a small thanks for your service, but so.
Let's try to do it before the snow flies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to do an availability poll, or do you want to do it in conjunction with another meeting?
I think the availability poll works well.
I think so too.
Okay.
Otherwise, on the agenda to schedule an annual parks tour, but if we could
Yeah, that would be the other option.
combine somehow, that way we get to tour Ernie Lake. That's one of our stops, but
I guess let's skip ahead to that agenda item. So the H, ahead to that agenda item. So the H, schedule the annual Parks Commission 2021 Parks Tour and select park locations to be visited. Saturday, October 9th. Maybe you ought to find it.
October 9th.
You ought to find it.
October 9th.
I think if you combine, I think it would be good to check out Lake Ernie. I'm sorry.
No,
Can
no.
I?
Yeah,
I
go
think it
ahead.
would be good to check out Lake Ernie, but I think if we have the dedication and the parks tour, it's going to be forever. I mean, it'll a whole day.
I mean, you could do it last. So,
do it at noon.
yeah,
Do what last?
the dedication.
Yeah, we could do the tour from 9 until
Oh,
11 and then
okay.
dedication
Yeah.
at 11.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am free the 9th.
Does the 9th work for everyone?
I'll have to check for sure, but I think it's,
I think I'm good too.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to block it tentatively.
And then
12 o'clock, end up at Lake Ernie.
okay. I admit I don't remember what parks you were gonna do. Line Legends. And what else?
I guess we're waiting for what DPW had to say.
One of yours was for the fire station, but I think I haven't heard a lot of support of keeping the fire station for a parking facility. So if you still want to review it, obviously that's up to you, but I don't think I've heard any support for keeping the building. Perhaps if you review it, you may feel otherwise.
could take a look at Ken Wendell, because we brushed a lot of brush in the back of that, if you guys look at that. That's kind of on the same side.
Ken Wendell and then Ernie Lake, like maybe start at 9 and have the ceremony at 11. So an hour in each one and finish up there. Then we're done by probably 11:30, 12 o'clock. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Do we need a motion to schedule that meeting then?
This would be on Legend Drive or on Drexel?
Yeah.
Will we have time to do both while we're here?
I think we would. Should we meet on Legend Road and then head over to look at Pickleball Palace and then head over to look at Pickleball Palace and then move on?
That'll work.
So like at the playground or the pavilion on Legend Drive?
Yeah.
How would we handle seating?
Yeah.
Picnic tables okay or no?
In Ernie Lake?
Yeah,
I,
for the ceremony?
yeah,
Yeah,
I,
for the ceremony?
yeah, that's amazing.
I think there's 2 there, and we could bring any amount anybody wants.
Okay.
What do you think for people?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But the person that I spoke to, who I said I would let him know, it was him and a family group who he said he thought he would have 20 people with him. So that,
So maybe about 5 picnic tables.
yeah. So.
Is someone gonna come up with some kind of formal ceremony that takes a little time to make it, nice?
I still have it, I bought a bow.
The mayor?
somebody who knows something about Tony and his history.
Is he on board with that, the mayor?
I don't know. I can ask him.
I know he
You
had
can ask him.
made time to come to the previously planned event. I don't know that he was going to, but yeah.
But I think he would appreciate the invite and being able to make a few comments. And should I get a cake?
Everybody eats cake.
I can pick up a cake. I'll get a cake.
Just clean up the park when you're done.
Yeah.
I want to get
I'll bring a grill.
no
Where are we
brats.
gonna put the coals?
Yeah.
So how many picked
No
Where are
brats.
we gonna put the coals?
Yeah.
how many picked the tables?
Probably 6
Six
total.
of them? Okay.
I don't know.
And then with the park tour take the place in the Monday meeting scheduled for,
Yep.
Oh, that's
so
a
that would be
good
the
idea.
11th, I guess, would that be? 12th?
The
Whatever
11th
The
is-
11th.
Would that be? 12th?
The
Whatever
11th
The
is-
11th.
Okay.
So we won't have a meeting on the 11th.
Oh, that's good because I have finance that night for budget too. So that works out really well.
Okay. I guess we'll move on to letter D.
Do we need a motion?
I guess we'll move on to letter D.
Do we need a motion? You think? Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion
Okay.
that we schedule the annual Parks Commission 2021 Parks Tour for Saturday, October 9th at 9 a.m., starting at Lions Legend 1, then Ken Wendell Park, then Ernie Lake, culminating with the dedication of a bench recognizing previous Parks Commission Chair Tony Magno.
And I'll second.
So you're covered.
Is that okay?
It's confusing for me.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed?
Wait, who made the motion? I didn't get it.
I did.
You
I
did.
seconded.
Okay. One and then two and then Ernie, then Wendell and then Ernie.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. We'll move on to D, uniform signage for all parks.
I didn't have any materials for your packet for this, but this is the slide I had.
Oh, I thought this is more related to the Shelley's country
It
That
could
it
also
was,
be.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, she's not here, I guess we can table it for the next time.
Okay. I will note while we're on this item that signage was your capital requests. So there may be funding in the 2022 budget. So, and actually,
Should we move on to E?
that would be fab.
Awesome. 2022 budget, Parks Commission request for information and recommendation on personnel additions, capital outlay fund needs, equipment revolving fund needs, street improvement fund needs, and major capital expenditures to revolving fund needs, street improvement fund needs, and major capital expenditures to be made with borrowed funds.
Yep, so as a result of the recommendations that the commission made, specifically the list of amenities that you recommended, but then also there was the linked set that you looked at, we prepared capital improvement requests. Some of them had already been included in the Department of Public Works budget. And so those were put forward as DPW items, but the list that's here, items 1 through 20 were put forward as capital requests for 2022. So I don't know that all of them will be funded, but the proposals that were provided with each of these items were also included with the capital requests. So Dale, there was the citizen requests that those proposals went forward with some information and in some cases not all of the information, but the ones that were a little bit more concise, all of the information went forward. So again, so some of them, the sheets were drafted for 2022 since it was obvious that things like ice skating rink or signage, it would be advisable to do that sooner. Some of them were put forward for future budget years because the capital process is starting to the long-term vision. So this was sent forward to Finance Committee and then will be part of the budget discussion. Something to just be aware of is that given that we went through this process this year, this list will now inform things that don't get funded here. We'll revisit this every year. But this is the set of requests that you, the commission, made, and they were forwarded as part of the budget process. So I don't know if anyone has anything to add, kind of looking at Alderman and city engineer, but one thing I would like to do for you is based on what does and does not get funded, I'll come back with the table of what went forward. So this was my first time preparing these capital forms. It was everyone's first time because it's a new process, but we'll start to do this. So as we had talked about doing with the tour of parks in the past, making note of things that you want to keep in mind for future budget discussions. That's certainly something that's appropriate to think through, and we'll try to capture that and keep keep doing a good job of capturing it and having it be a process that flows, as opposed to being like, here's a bunch of information all at once. What do you want to do? Information all at once. What do you want to do? So, okay.
Great.
Letter F, update on trail projects, including South 116th Street, St. Martin of Tours, West Forest Home Avenue, Martin of Tours, West Forest Home Avenue, West Church Street, State Highway 100, Ryan Creek, and Cascade Creek Park.
So we can revisit any of these issues, but I guess the only one I have a real update on is St. Martin Tours. I've submitted an easement to the church today. Finally got a response back. Hopefully we'll get that soon. The goal is that I'd like to build St. Martin's Tours trail next year regardless. We are still waiting on a response for a grant for 116th Street. There's a CMAQ, it's probably a long shot. If we do not get that, which I would be surprised if we do, but if we do not get that, then we will apply for a TAP grant. It's basically it's a transportation, what does it stand for? Transportation amenities kind of thing. So we did some things to make our grant a little sexier this time, so I'm hoping we'll get that, and we will find out that in February.
How much is that grant?
Well, I'm still waiting, sorry, consultant, because it was a last minute thing, we had some emails mixed up. Our grant, it's about $800,000 without the trailhead, so I want to add about $500,000-$600,000 for a trailhead here at Ryan Road, where the trail crosses Ryan Road. So it's going to be probably 1.3 to 1.5 is what I plan to ask for. Well, so then that's what the total project would be, and then the grant, that's what the total project would be, and then the grant could pay up to 80%. So one thing's council directs to do to make the grant a little more sexy, it's not asked for 80, asked for 70%. So we have park impact fee monies. You
Sure.
get more points if you are not as greedy, if you will. So 70%, are not as greedy, if you will. So 70% of 1.5 roughly is what we would ask for.
Nice.
The West Church Street, that's still in the city attorney's hand. Long story short, the road's not even, we don't even own the road. So we could claim it by adverse possession, but then to expand it for a trail, basically it looks like I'll have to purchase property from the adjacent property owners. So that's still with the city attorney's office. State Highway 100, we have advised DOT that we'd like to do that trail. They've said okay. State what to sign. Let's see, the Ryan Creek Trail. We have met with the consultant. When was that? Last Thursday-ish, I believe.
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks? Oh, it was. Doesn't seem like 3 weeks ago. It seems like last week.
I have no idea.
So they're fairly soon, and I'm not sure what the schedule is, but fairly soon we'll see a revised concept plan as far as things they're trying to hit, things they're trying to miss. Parks meeting, you may
Well,
see
it's
them.
going to be the tour now, so.
Okay.
maybe after.
So probably the following meeting is when you'll see them here and discuss their proposal. Cascade Creek Park, I've been instructed to resubmit to the county. This is one of those things we'd like for the county to do, and they just said no. So the things we want from the county. The alderman of the district brings us up about every time I see him. So, okay, that's update for everything.
Can we just go back to Ryan Creek Trail to kind of explain where it is right now in terms of, and we can hop right now in terms of, and we can hop out and look at a map.
Can you show me a map?
Should be able to do that. Let's see if I have a nice one. That would be most useful. This is the southwest. This is the southwest. That That's gonna make you nuts, isn't
Yeah, this doesn't make much
it? Okay. Hang on.
But go back up to this one. Be nice if you could pull up just an aerial.
I can do that.
Just go down.
Where is it?
Property view.
Where is it?
Property view. So, this is the 116th Street Trail. I've kind of planned out. One thing you'll see that the consultant is doing is really trying to be true to the trail, or true to the actual creek. So so when you see that their proposal, they will actually try to follow the creek the best they can, but then they'll have some other called secondary.
Well, so there was a distinction that so they're trying to do a routing master plan for the trail. And so there's the primary trail that the city would construct, and it would be one major route, and then secondary trails, which connecting to the 116th Street Trail and kind of traveling this way. They've already made some professional recommendations to simplify street crossings and that kind of thing, but then yet to follow the course of Ryan Creek, minimizing crossings in order to as part of that, since we know that there is existing residential development and future residential development, there's secondary routing that's happening, including possibilities of connections on 92nd Street, which is a planned trail, and back into the neighborhoods. So, like Glenn has already done a lot of work to figure out stuff over here, which she's going to explain. But those could potentially be the primary route or a secondary route, depending on the decisions that the city makes in terms of how aggressive they want to be in terms of acquiring land, or what makes the most sense acquiring land, or what makes the most sense. Because part of this is what is a trail that will be fun to ride on, and minimizing street crossings on busy roads is certainly part of that, for example. So the Grave has a lot of expertise in this area, and it's actually been very helpful for me to discuss it with them and understand it a bit better.
So just to let you know what things that are immediate things that I see happening fairly soon that we told our consultant about. So you can move over just a little bit.
It won't let me zoom.
That's good. Stop right
All
there.
right.
This is the trailhead that we're looking to do along the 116th Street Trail. Bear Development is developing this right here. We've already talked to them about doing some sort of trail that does something like this. It would cross movements where there is a proposed future signal. As soon as, you don't know, this is where Strauss is looking at going. When the development occurs, it is expected this will be a signalized intersection. So this will be a place to cross. So the consultant's looking at some sort of way up here to kind of stay true to the creek. That's one example. So Common Council's already widened. This sidewalk. I think it's already constructed, right?
Sure.
Okay. So this is going to be a 10-foot walkway, cross and go on Chicory Street, 10-foot walkway. There is a detention pond out here now. We're working on getting this dedicated to the city. They're going to just give the. They're going to just give the entire outlot to the city. They'll still have to maintain the pond, but they'll give the outlot to the city. We'll bring the trail down here. There's some discussions I won't go into down here, but so we would come out somewhere down here. This is the Bear Development to the Ryan Creek Interceptor. The county just said no. We got to work on that issue. One thing I'm pretty excited about is from 92nd Street to 80th Street, the school now owns something actually down here, built anything down in here. So there's a discussion, and the school seems receptive to it, that they would allow us to do some kind of a trail across here, maybe next year. Come over, and then I'd like to head north on this, what would be a future 80th Street, possibly a trailhead right here. So you could do that, then go down and continue on to the extension of the trail, but more importantly, then we're getting ready to talk to the DOT about some sort of intersection up here. So this is where we're planning to expand our DPW building in the next couple of years. We're planning to put a fire station right here. Part of that next couple of years, we're planning to put a fire station right here. Part of that whole discussion, I want to talk to them about what the school is planning and possibly some sort of trail. So actually kids could potentially get to a school if that were to be what they build there. But this, so we've talked about the Highway 100 trail. It would come off of the Root River Bridge along the north side. So this trailhead would basically allow to connect to that. So that would help create that loop that Mary was talking about. And the cool thing about that is we could actually do this part next year if the school is used. So there's probably a trail that comes down here. This is the old runway. Thought is we could go ahead and build even a trail out to there. One of those, if we were able to ever work with the county, maybe we could work out some kind of deal, or at least when they get ready to do their extension of the trail, the Root River.
It ends at the sports complex.
Yeah, it ends like right here.
Okay.
And then we actually have a trail that does this. So whether they'll come across or do, I don't know, that's yet to be determined.
I mean, this is all pretty wet, but pretty cool to, this is all pretty wet, but pretty cool to go like that.
So we're probably a couple months away from getting that study completed, and then we can actually start rolling into design some of the things that we see.
What is the white stuff on 60th Street?
What's what?
The white. What is the white stuff on 60th Street?
What's what?
The white.
Industrial park, isn't it?
Yep, so this is,
Buildings.
yeah.
This is Strauss.
This
Strauss.
one's Strauss, this
The
one
current
is,
Strauss building.
no, this one's Strauss.
Well, that's Strauss.
Yep.
I figured it. Well, this is the aquarium.
You go ahead, all going, used to be all going, that's sort of
Yeah.
central.
If you guys are not familiar with the GIS, it's still also a really neat tool to just kind of
This is the fire station.
run around and find stuff, so.
What is it?
Fire station.
No, what you say?
So GIS, it's a map of, it's called the property viewer on the city's website. Back, you can look at, whoop, it's a little annoying to zoom around on, but it has information about all of the properties in the city, who owns them, what the zoning is, and what the environmental features on them in the city are. So this is the floodplain is really easy to see. We'll be having this discussion about trail routing, and as you can see, a lot of that trail will potentially, it's an allowed use, something that's okay to have in a floodplain, but it could potentially be tracking the floodplain of Ryan, this is Ryan Creek. So, be some public input into that trail route and what you guys want to see there, so, thank you, Glenn.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, we will move on to G, park permit fees and deposits for rentals of pavilions and other facilities at all City of Franklin parks.
I believe we touched on it at the last meeting that $100 across the board permit fee increase and a $250 security deposit. I'm going to a $250 security deposit fee. Security deposit fee.
Did we make a motion on it last week? I mean, last
See anything in the minutes.
month?
When Glenn briefed me, I don't think he did.
Here, I thought we did.
Oh, we did too.
Discussion only, no action taken.
Hmm.
Is it, is it that you needed more information from staff, or?
I can't remember now when we didn't take action on it.
Seems pretty clear cut, and I think we're all in favor of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're,
Okay.
so you're talking about making a motion now
Sure. Yep.
to, who's making it?
I'll make the motion that we increase the park permit fees $100 across the board and up the security.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it.
And then also as part of that last month, we talked about the parks hours going to 11 to 8.
That's with VA.
Yes.
I think we're coming up on that, right?
So I guess that leaves us with I, status of the Pleasant View Site Park Plan.
So this item went to common council, and Glenn asked me to include his council action sheet, and Alderwoman Hanneman shared with me the YouTube link that I distributed today. Unfortunately, I wasn't at that meeting, but I think the request is a little bit of direction from the commission about whether, because this bid set came back as being even more expensive than the previous. Back in the spring, this project was bid out, and the budget had been $300,000 for total for the park improvements. The bid sets all came back well in excess of that. All bids were rejected, and then this set was prepared, and here we are. So.
So, I'm not so sure they made all bids rejected, didn't they table the matter? I'm not so sure they made all bids rejected, didn't they table the matter? You tabled it.
Yes.
Okay, well.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. In the spring, they rejected all the bids. We rebid it. Our consultant, I guess, didn't alert us, and for whatever reason, had a pretty tight time frame. At least that's what we were led to believe, that the reason why there's only one bidder this year, or the second time we bid it. The concern was just a tight time frame, he charged accordingly for it. One bidder, in my opinion, threw something at the wall, and he was hoping to get the job. So this went to common council, reject all bids, but it was tabled. They'd like for a recommendation from the Parks Commission. The thought is that we would rebid it, at least put it out for bid in, say, December, and collect bids in January, so contractors have enough time to get things done. So let me describe. The first bid, we didn't have any alternates. We would just bid it out, so many feet of pipe, so many of this, so many of that. The second time we bid it, we said, well, let's reconfigure this. So we threw out some things, like picnic tables and that sort of thing. And then we listed this as alternates. So we wouldn't be stuck to the overall project. But when we bid it out, just the base bid, the pickleball courts was $388,000, just extremely expensive, just crazy. It went up from there. Everything was just super expensive. So the thought was that we would probably have something similar. Maybe the pickleball courts would not be the base bid. Maybe I would appreciate what you think the base bid ought to be. If you were to only do one thing on this list, what would you like to see bid out? Quite honestly, I thought we would do everything but like maybe two things. But I looked at this like maybe two things. But I looking at this list, I don't see anything that I would recommend that you bid out. But if they tabled it because they'd like for your opinion before we take this out to bid, if we take this out to bid, how would you like to see us proceed on this?
Sure. Well, taking a look.
Like to see us proceed on this.
Sure. Well, taking a look at it and listening to the pickleball party that was here the last time, if they weren't getting their 8 courts, they weren't interested in anything. So I would like to recommend removing the pickleball courts. And taking a look at it, I think the pickleball courts, In taking a look at it, I think the couple bigger things that stick out to me would be the expansion of the parking lot, the addition of the 10-foot path, and then the volleyball court for a small added amenity.
Do we need the parking lot expansion?
Small added amenity.
Do we need the parking lot expansion if we're taking pickleball courts in?
What do you believe, I'm sorry. What do you believe is the most important thing on the list? If you did nothing else, there's only
Sure.
one thing on that list, what would that be? And I'll make that debate.
Taking a look at the options here, I think probably the path connection would probably be the number one.
Okay. So what I'll do for the next bid, based on your recommendation, I would take alternate one, make that the base bid, and then take the pickleball courts and make that an alternate.
I agree completely. I would have picked the path as well as top priority.
Yeah, I agree. If the parking lot expansion, if we're not going to have pickleball, I don't know if we really need to sink the money into currently adding. That makes a lot of sense.
I think then the pickleball deal,
But they clearly stated that they need 8.
yeah.
And it's almost to the point where if they need something that's that large, maybe they could look to raise funds or contribute as well. That it's a select group of people that play pickleball. The city shouldn't be on the hook to fund one small group.
Well, and this discussion is exactly why I wanted to, why I made the motion at council to table and bring it back, and so that your discussion could then be presented to council as a recommendation, because I didn't want to cut out, because this group has put so much into the discussion of Pleasant View and the planning, and I guess my question is the reality of bidding out in December for early next year. With the pickleball included and everything we have here, what is the, none of us has a crystal ball, but what is the reality of it, this full package being affordable then? I don't know. Full package being affordable then? I don't know.
I would suggest to you that all of my construction projects, the prices have just increased this year. Price of steel, we hear developers say the price of steel for a building has gone from like $5 a square foot to $16 a square foot, something crazy. The price of labor has just skyrocketed. So the prices will go up. Having said that, the fact that we only had one bidder and the fact that they saw the tight time frame as being real critical, that's what impacted this. So I think if we can get many bidders, we'll be able to look online, see that there's another 5 bidders, they're going to sharpen their bets a little bit better than they did on this one. Having said that, it may be higher than what we saw in the springtime, but I think it would definitely be a lot cheaper than what you saw in this.
How many pickleball courts are you bidding on here?
Well,
It was 4, right?
I think it was 4.
Yeah.
It was 4. Having said, and I almost brought this up a while ago when we were having the overall discussion, so hopefully it's not too far off topic. Can you go to Legend Park, please? Mayor brought up a comment last Thursday night. Lions Legend? There's a soccer field. He claims he's never seen anyone there. Some other folks at the planning commission said they have seen people play there. The question, and maybe this is more of a question for Dale, but how often does that really get used? And maybe that might be a place for, say, a cricket pitch or pickleball courts or something like that we're trying to find a place for.
I don't know where this is.
This is
Right behind us here.
yeah.
Right behind the firehouse.
So the firehouse is here.
Right behind the firehouse.
So the firehouse is here. That's Mark. So this is like between the wetland and.
Is that where they launched the
So that's City Hall right there on the far left.
Yep,
City Hall, these are the barns.
That's City Hall right there on the far left.
Yep,
City Hall, these are the barns, the antique village, the little bridge crosses over it.
Is there a bridge here? Well, we'll certainly take a look at it on our parks tour.
Yeah, that's a
Well.
good idea.
So it's on the other side.
Yeah, that's a
Well.
good idea.
So it's on the other side of that little creek that goes through there.
Yep.
We need to be able to tell by how worn the grass is, it's used often.
I realize it's not on the agenda, but you brought that up, and maybe that may be an option for, let's not worry about let's not worry about putting pickleball in Pleasant View. Maybe put your eightplex over here. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe,
Closer to the other ones too, the more of a little complex.
or maybe you put the pickleball in, the nursery on 51st Street.
Well, I still remain fairly committed to the idea that in park tennis courts, that an 8 pickleball complex there would really be a good fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's way off. We don't have Fleming Park.
Tell me what your pleasure is, and we can maybe work that in. So, anyway, when you rebid Pleasant View, maybe table and
Sure.
if you have another space.
Sounds good.
What do you guys think?
I agree with that.
I like the thought that Sherry's look there, that we need to go over there and check that spot out.
Yeah.
Framing's a good idea too, but we have to have some sort of.
Now, if we were to make some sort of motion to common council, they would still act on pretty much the same action that would give the Parks Commission time to maybe make some look
So
at that, or
what I would suggest
how
to
that
you,
timeline
if I
works.
think I can read the tea leaves here, I think you want to make a motion to recommend to common council that the project be rebid with bid openings in January with make the pathway connection to Pleasant View as the base bid and pickleball's as alternate bids. And then you have a few months to decide whether you do or don't want to have pickleball courts. Again, that'll be January before you have to make that decision.
So
I think that's right on the money.
so
I think that's right on the money.
I agree.
say it again.
I think that you want to say that you'll recommend to common council that this project be rebid with openings in January of 2022, and that you make the 10-foot path connection to Pleasant View Reserve, and that you make the 10-foot path connection to Pleasant View Reserve as the base bid, and move the pickleball courts to an alternate bid.
Okay, so number 4 is going up to number 1.
No.
It's the base?
Alternate 1 will be the base bid.
Alternate one is the base bid.
Okay,
And the alternate 1 will be the base bid.
Alternate one is the base bid.
okay.
And the pickleball courts will go to alternate. If I could read into what I think you're nodding your head at.
May I ask a question before we vote? Or we don't have a motion made yet, I'm sorry. So the base bid in this scenario would only be the 10-foot path connection? Or could we recommend the trash enclosure pad and landscaping?
So keep in mind, I'm making these separate things. So
Okay.
when all is collected, then you can pick and choose what. So
Got
the
it.
base bid
Okay,
plus whatever alternates that you want.
got it, okay.
So
Because we have,
ideally, the prices are low out 1, 2, 3, or 4 of the items.
because the budget was 350 roughly.
360?
300 was the budget, and we have asked for an additional 120 next year, so the
Okay.
budget next year would be 420. Assuming that goes through the budget process.
Excellent. Can we get a recommendation?
I will make the motion for Glenn's wording,
I'll second.
because I'm not going to repeat it.
Dave's first motion of Glenn's word.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the motion is to recommend to council to rebid with open the change being alternate 1 moving to base and pickleball being alternate 1.
Yes.
Is that clear?
Fantastic. I guess we're going to jump to the back page, and we have new business. Proposed updates to the city, and we have new business. Proposed updates to the City of Franklin Park rules. Section 183-48, regulations governing parks.
So what I did was I took the conversation last time, I marked it up for what I believe the conversation was. So I marked it up for what I believe the conversation was. So 1, instead of going from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., the thought was to go from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that gives staff more time to clean up the areas in the morning for they start getting used and gets them to close a little bit. Number 5, any group larger than 8 individuals must have a picnic permit to use the shelter, and no individual will infringe when others have a shelter rented. So this goes back to the picture that Mary was showing on the board. I would imagine maybe we have some kind of clipboard, essentially language reflecting this permit. So you can tell if you were to walk by and see people using it that don't have a permit, then you don't have to approach them. You call the police and let the police go enforce it. And then number 6 basically says that all permit must be posted in the areas provided. One thing that is not on here is difference of recollection, let me say it that way, on exactly what you intended or did not intend for the caterers. So we had conversations, and without biasing you, can you refresh our memories on what your wishes were for caterers?
Catering, but no food trucks. Or I could be wrong.
No food trucks.
Yeah, it was no food trucks unless it was an approved permit by us.
Thank you, less improved.
Yeah.
So I owe him. Because I had a conversation that I thought you said that you were okay as long as no money exchange hands. I remember the conversation.
We did start with that.
You did want to see money. So that's how you started, but you didn't finish.
Yeah,
Okay.
we started with that and then we moved to just
No food trucks unless an approved permit.
So the caterer is just a drop-off.
Yeah,
So the caterer is just a drop-off.
yeah.
And then there was a conversation about would anybody be allowed, so I remember some of the discussion was about drop-off, but then there was also some discussion, but then there was also some discussion about possibly cooking things there on site, like, people do cook burgers or people do cook steaks. So I need some clarification on what you meant. So is cater strictly drop-off, so someone can't come and cook food there?
Oh, I see what
Strictly drop-off, so someone can't come and cook food there?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So we're not roasting a pig at the picnic site?
Right, I think that was the conversation
Roast a
was,
pig or a pull behind smoke.
and plus they're not taking up 5 parking spaces
Okay.
with their trailer if they're gonna
Right.
be preparing food there.
So a caterer,
If they're gonna
Right.
be preparing food there.
so a caterer is okay, drop-off only.
Yeah, I think that was our intent.
I think that was in the
No cooking by caterer on site?
Yeah, or
There you go.
no on-site food prep.
No, that's,
Would preclude any grilling of burgers and brats or steaks.
no on-site food prep by caterer. Okay. You want to see the language before you adopt it next month, or are you okay just to give us some leeway to get it done? Just get it done?
Yeah.
No,
She wants to wait so Joe can write up. the
Oh, I thought you just wanted us to write it up and we dumped it, so.
I think I'm okay with you guys just.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then the other thing
Are we doing a
is
motion?
if we feel good about putting that in the rules that no confetti, no pinatas, it's getting out of hand.
I am fine with that.
They're going to be kind of these.
I want to say that's already in here.
I mean, litter is already,
I didn't see how we could represent.
And number 50.
I don't remember reading about
We have
it.
Yeah, I
voted
don't-
another waste under 9, but that didn't. really
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
maybe it has something about confetti.
Okay, so make motion, make motion confetti.
The no confetti thing gonna be on the park signage though?
Gonna be what?
In the
Did we
permits,
discuss having the no confetti thing on the signs we're gonna hang at the parks themselves?
I thought we did.
Is that what we talked, maybe that's what we're confusing or no?
Yeah, was it,
I don't remember that one.
I think it is, I was just looking up the,
Oh, I don't remember that one.
I think it is, I was just looking up the sign that we already put up at Kilo's Playground, so it has a lot of this stuff on it.
Okay. So we'll make reference to confetti. Any other things like confetti you want to mention specifically?
Glitter.
Confetti, glitter,
Unicorns. Unicorns.
and other like debris or
Yeah.
something.
Are we okay with
Water balloons?
Do you have large
Is that a
water?
problem?
That's a projectile.
It,
Is it a problem? Do you typically find water
Yes.
balloons? Okay.
Well, and the thing is, that's kind of dangerous for the,
Yeah.
plastic.
right. And the birds pick that up and get it caught in their beaks maybe, or,
So no confetti, glitter, water balloons, and other such.
Any others? Gum, silly string, confetti, paint, chalk, glitter, and water
I
balloons.
want to say et cetera. You don't want to start mentioning everything.
That's what it says on the
What?
sign.
No, that's just,
under 18.
Repeat that.
I'm sorry,
What?
that was bad.
They make everyone uniform now.
Gum, silly string, confetti,
Yeah.
paint, chalk, glitter, and water balloons are strictly prohibited.
And have that all in the
And other
backyard.
projectiles and explosives.
Copy Kayla's sign. So
And have that all in the
And other
backyard.
projectiles and explosives.
copy Kayla's sign.
That's easier.
there you go.
Do we need a motion on this, or are you guys just gonna go ahead?
If you'll tell us to amend it as discussed, we can do that.
Sure.
I make a motion to amend it as discussed.
Thank you,
Do we have a second?
Discussed.
thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Question for people who,
Janice,
yeah,
Dave.
sorry, aren't familiar with this. And now we're gonna have more rules. Do we, once it's done in that as our, I know they can go online, but who,
Well, in theory, everyone gets this when they rent a facility. So-
I know, but I mean, people might say, I'm gonna rent this.
I think maybe in the spring, it would be a good opportunity as we're opening up the parks again, just to have a friendly reminder. In general, we might not have to, things in our parks are dangerous to the wildlife and is very costly for our staff to have to clean up. You know, these things are not permitted.
Maybe,
Perhaps-
I was just gonna say, maybe they'll follow it better if they know why we're changing things.
Yeah, exactly.
And perhaps, since it's kind of a new thing, that, so,
Yeah,
and that's probably.
that's a really good point to make.
That makes sense.
I'll put that in there, just don't say it.
Excellent. I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Looks like our next meeting is set for Saturday morning, October 9th, so I guess we shall adjourn the meeting.
I motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey.
The ayes